Morning, ladies and gentlemen, Rotarians, Rotaractors, and it's always a pleasure to be here. I remember last time when I was here, we talked and it was engaging and I enjoyed myself. And here we are again. So let's get this party going. Please let me know if you're seeing the slides. Just confirm to me. You can just say the word slide, and then I will know that all is well.
Yes, we can see the slides.
Fantastic. I know we always have little time, so I'll just jump into the presentation. I appreciate the wonderful introduction, and team, let's get this party going. So Goal Achievement Accelerators in 2023. And, you know, I decided to focus on accelerators because I know we all set goals and we all have these dreams that we have. And just a quick one, please type in the chat box, what's your biggest goal for this year? The one which you're comfortable sharing in the one which you're comfortable sharing in the chat box. Just type at least one, just for me to give me an idea of what your goals are. And Happy New Year, of course. I can see Joachim saying Happy New Year. So Happy New Year, blessed and prosperous New Year to all of you. Please, let me see, keeping safe and alive, be happy. I like the happiness part. We all love happiness. Please type. The way I work, I always love engaging people to make sure that we are all switched on. Be happy. Please type. Spend less than my earnings. Go achieve. Please type. Growing at my workplace. Fantastic. Something I help people with, of course. Academic achievement for Joachim. Travel the world. I like that. Hooray! Okay, to chew money. I like that. Maria, please share with us about chewing the money. I like that. Okay, so that's a great start. And smile and blast more. Go. Be consistent in everything I do. Fantastic. Make more money. Great. All right, let's get going. So at least I have an idea on what you are focused on. Now, so when I'm presenting, I typically look at a 5-step model, to clarify what things are, the mindsets we need, the strategies, the skill sets, and the mastery. Let's start with the clarity to define things here. We know that goal achievement is the gateway to the future, so you want for yourself. So you need to identify critical areas that are blocking your goals from becoming a reality. That's one of the core ways to accelerate your growth, is to find out what's holding you back, what's standing in the way. Once you clear the blocks, then you know that things will go forward. So, when I think about goal achievement and things that we make happen, I think about, let's say, water that comes through your home. So water that comes through your home, National Water will turn on the water. But if there are blocks in the pipes, then the water won't come through. The issue is not National Water. The issue is that there are blocks in the system. And I would use the analogy of National Water, or whatever that's the source of water, to be, say, God. God, I believe, has all these opportunities for us. But the question is, have we cleared the blocks in our system? And towards the end, I'll talk about that. So what are the mindsets? So there are many mindsets that we need, but then I decided to, given the amount of time that we have, decided to focus on a few that I feel are very, very crucial. One is you need to move from positivity, meaning you need to move from just being hopeful and positive to having faith. So having hope is like, there's that thing of anticipating that something is going to happen, but faith means that it's going to happen. So we need to upgrade our positiveness. We need to upgrade our hope. That's why when I was starting out in my career, I used to call myself the merchant of hope. And I upgraded myself to be the merchant of success, because I know that, we need to move from hope to success. And we also need to move from just being hopeful to having the faith. Number two is the other attitude we need to have is when it comes to goals, is that the fewer, the better. And I'll explain that a little later. unlike what we used to do, having so many goals. And then the other mindset is to look at God as partner, not as some being out there, but to know that the God is your partner in you and around you, because even Christ said that the kingdom of God is in you. So and then the other thing also, the mindset, that mindset is, I learned not so many months ago, that when you have something constructive in your mind, in your soul, in your spirit, that is divine inspiration. So meaning automatically God is with you. And having said that, God is not going to be with you on something that is negative or destructive. No. But once it's positive, once you have a positive goal, once you know that it's something constructive, part of the attitude is to know that God and the angels are with you. And that's a powerful attitude. That's a core accelerator for our goal achievement this year and beyond. And even if you forget everything else, once you know that, then that gives you, then that automatically boosts your faith. That automatically boosts you from just being hopeful to having the faith. Okay, now let's talk about the strategies. In terms of the strategies, I decided to break it down into what I'm calling the Mars model. So meaning if you're on planet Earth here, I know people like Elon Musk are figuring out ways to conquer Mars. So I felt it was a wonderful model for us to think about, because if we want to accelerate higher, it means we need to accelerate from just hold the image of you're moving from one planet to another. A planet of where you were last year to another planet, a new planet 2023, to move from planet Earth to planet Mars, because that's a higher level and therefore you need to accelerate there. So just remember those 4 letters, Mars. So hold that image in your mind as I walk you through in terms of how do we accelerate forward. And talking about acceleration, by the way, this is something I've been passionate about since 1998 when I read my first book, Think Big by Ben Carson, that my first mentor, the late Dr. Gerard Serwaji, gave me. And I've also, of course, been coaching people full-time since 2003. So I'm making 20 years, yay! Doing this work. So these are the 4 components that I've noticed that have worked in my life and the clients that I coach. So there are 4 areas. M stands for the mental game. So your psychology is extremely crucial in terms of accelerating goals. And then A stands for activity. What are you doing? What are those things you need to actually do? So that's the A. And then the R is routines. What are those things that you do automatically? What are those things that you do, every single day? So that's what will determine your moving forward, okay? And then the S stands for spirituality. So once we have these 4 components together, then our acceleration forward is much, much higher, okay? Now, I'm going to break it down further to show you what are those areas under each component of Mars. Now, let's start with the mental game. Okay. Number 1, be unrealistic with at least 1 goal. Because you see, we are always told be realistic. And that's true in one aspect. And in another aspect, if we are to go further, at least you need 1 goal that will stretch you. You need a stretch goal. So for me, I recall in 2021, for example, one of the goals I set was to do 50 sessions online nonstop every single day. And I did. So that was a very unrealistic goal. And that really stretched my abilities and my ways of being. And it produced something very powerful in my life. That's what I recall. And I remember last year, a good friend of mine, Joseph Beyanga, those of you who are following, did a trek from Kampala to Bushenyi within 10 days. That was over 340 kilometers, so to speak. 10 days. I participated just 3 days in 3 days, one of the 3 days, I mean, at the beginning, middle, and at the end. So for me, I did over 100 kilometers in 3 days. Well, not as close as Joseph, my friend, because I could not be there during those 10 days, but at least I had something that stretched me. I mean, the first day we walked 42 kilometers, which I participated in, and that really stretched my abilities. It really opened my mind. It told me what the human body and spirit can do. That's something I had never done. So what is that one thing? So think about all the goals you've had, but determine and say, you know what, I need at least one stretch goal that will start when I look back, I look at it with pride, just like some of the things I'm mentioning here. That's part of the mentor. The second portion of the mentor is the circle of focus. Now, I learned about this concept of a circle of focus towards the end of last year, and it was really, really powerful. If you really get it, this is a huge, huge accelerator. Now, this is it. So when you start your day, for example, or month or year, think about it having that circle that you're seeing on the screen. And all the energy, all the mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical resources, that's it. That's what you have. That's 100%. Now, if you have one goal, your chances of success, it means you're moving at, you're unleashing the whole 100% energy, mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical energies to that end. And that accelerates your success. Why? Because you're focused on just one thing. But this is where the issue comes in. The moment you add in other things, like if we count these boxes, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, those are 3, 6, 7. Or assuming there are 4 things, it means now you're moving at 25% slower for the other goals. If there are 10, it means you're moving, realistically speaking or logically speaking, you're going to move at 10% instead of 100% pace, 100% potential. Why? Because your energies are divided. So this has been one of my, looking back, why it's a powerful concept. Looking back, this has been one of the things that have slowed me down in some of the areas, because I'm super creative. I mean, every single day I come up with world-moving ideas, and then I get pulled in so many places. So for me, in 2023, I'm going to hone in onto this concept of circle focus. What are those few things I need to focus on? 1 or 2, 3 marks that I need to focus on. Because the more things you put in your circle, the more your energies get dissipated. And in the end, you're chasing many things. That's why you're chasing many rabbits. The other way to look at it is, there's I believe it's the Turkish proverb that he who chases 2 rabbits catches none. Now, rabbits is an image, it's a metaphor to to stop us, to encourage us from chasing too many things. So what I want us to do is, one of the things I would encourage you to do today is look at all the things that you have and see how you can reduce as many of those things as possible. Now, one of the ways you can do this actually is to choose and say, one of my teachers had also said at one time, each quarter focus on one goal, one main goal. That way, by the end of the year, you would have 4 big goals that you would have achieved. Now, that's much better when I compare it to how I used to live my life. Sometimes at the beginning of the year, I would have so many things to tick off. Out of curiosity, how many of us, just be honest, if you had set, let's say, 10 things that to achieve this year, if you had written at least 10 things, type number 1 in the chat box. Like 2023, you have a huge list of so many things. If you have that huge list, please type 1 in the chat box. Or even if it's not 10 things, at least you've understood this concept. Because even if I mention everything else and you miss this one idea, then you would have missed what I'm talking about. Because this is very crucial. Please go ahead and type in 1 in the chat box if you've understood this one idea before I jump into the other quick tips that I have for you. Okay, so I'm seeing a couple of ones. Fantastic. All right. Now that's part of the mentor. So circle of focus. What's that one thing or a few things that you want to focus on? Ideally, one concept, one idea. Let your circle of focus be one idea per quarter. What is that one thing that you want to achieve this quarter? And in fact, I would encourage you to mentally say, okay, this first quarter, this is the one thing. That doesn't mean you don't do other things, but at least a big chunk of your time, at least 50% of your time is going to be focused on that one idea, that one thing. The third part of the mentor game is the support system, because you need people to help with your psychology, to help you, to engage you, to engage your mind, to get those accountability partners, because the self-made concept of self-made idea is overblown. We are all made up by a huge system of support. So you need to be conscious of your support system that you're choosing. And one of the best things you can do for yourself is to have a coach. I have a coach myself, someone that I meet every day at 1 to 2 p.m. We meet 50 times in a year. We only meet two weeks in a year. At the end of the year, that's what I do. That's part of what helps me to my psychology to be right, to keep me accountable. That's huge. So it's good to have accountability partners. And if you can, have coaches. I notice that there are people, when I'm coaching them or keeping them accountable, they achieve so much in a few months than what they did the years prior. Why? Because sometimes you know what to do, but you're lacking that extra kick in the rear to get moving. If you've been in that state of whereby you know what to do, but it's only you who knows about all these things, and you feel like you're just lacking that kick in the rear. And sometimes when you have a kick in the rear, you get moving. If that makes sense, type 2, whereby just someone gave you a call, sent you an email, or you have a coach, you have an accountability partner, and that moves you. And yet sometimes you usually know what to do, but you end up not doing it. Actually, that's even more close. How many of us you feel like you know what to do to move forward, but you end up not doing it? Type number 2 if that makes sense to you. Type number 2 in the chat box. You know what to do to move forward. You don't need even another session from anyone. You're like, if I can do this one thing, I'll move forward. Yeah, that's it. I'm seeing so many tools, and I relate to that because I'm also human. That's why I have a coach. Please, for goodness sake, hire a coach. It's not a cost, it's an investment. That's something you should commit yourself to this year and say, no, I'm going to invest in myself. I'm talking about investing in yourself. One of the things that my coach taught me was, Ethan, you need to make yourself number one. I know someone in this room who wanted me to coach them last year. They missed, but I know why. You know why? They were spending money on these, on family members, relatives, and all this, and they forgot to themselves. So I encourage you this year to recommit. Find a coach, someone who will help you. If you resonate with me, fine. Let's talk after this session. If not, find someone that you can invest in that you resonate with. That's the first M, the MAS model. Now, the MAS model, the next is activity. Okay. Now, under activity, of course, it's have a clear plan for your goal. What is that goal? Why is it important? And then the how. Now, I usually see most times when I was setting goals, I talk about the what and the how, but I used to forget the why. The why is your reason for being. Why are you doing this goal? What will you achieve if you achieve this goal? I mean, what will you experience? What are the benefits? What are the costs? So you need to think about all these things that mean something to you. So one of the things I had set a goal for myself was not to miss key events for my children. And up till now, I've never missed a key event, in my child's life. My firstborn is 8 years old now. The only thing was only when I arrived late for a few minutes when she had an event to do, and she was very unhappy about that. But other than that, well, I appeared, she had just finished. But of the last 8 years, I've never missed any key event, including being in the theater with my wife, delivering our children. So why is that? Why? Because I want to be part of the journey of my girls. I don't want to be an absentee father. I want to be there. I want them to say, Daddy loved us. Daddy cared for us. Daddy was always there. Daddy was recording us. Daddy was there. So that is my why. So because of my why, I found myself in situations where it was hard to come for a birthday or a school event, but somehow I found a way. I spent money, whatever I had to spend to come in and be there. So my why is so huge that I mean, I will do whatever it takes to be there for my girl. So what is your why once you have that goal? Because once you have the why, it's what will move you. Nietzsche will say that if you have a strong enough why, you can withstand anyhow. And that a goal without a plan is just a wish. So sometimes people have big goals and no plans. And I'm saying, look, we need to have clear plans, detailed plans. The second part of activity is what I call focused blocks of time. Now, this is what we know according to science of productivity, and I've made a lot of research around this, in that it's always better to have blocks of time where you say the next 60 or 90 minutes, I'm going to focus on this. I'm talking about 60 to 90 minutes. By the way, that is specific because according to research, it's after 60 or 90 minutes, the law of diminishing returns comes in. So you need to have a break in between, a breather in between ideally. So have clear blocks and then have rest periods in between, but have clear blocks of time. And you said during this block, I'm going to focus on this one thing. Again, you go back to that circle of focus, not many things. This is the one thing I'm going to focus on during this period. And that 1 hour or 1.5 of focus time, you keep away all the distractions, put your phone in silence or flight mode. Sometimes what I like doing is I put it in, if I'm working from home, I'll put it in the bedroom, put it in silence, sit, boom. And focus blocks of time usually also means if you're the kind that gets distracted, that you always feel like you need to check on the internet what's there, like you're working and before you know it, you want to check, you have so many windows, like you want to check, and I'm one of those people. So for me, what I do is, by the way, and I'll tell you a solution around that. How many of us sometimes when you're working, you feel, tickled, like you want to check online, to check on the latest thing, or whether it's news or this, or check this website, or check this social media site, or check that. How many of us feel ourselves, we get trapped into that sometimes? We're working on something important, and if you are just typing 1 or 2 in the chat box, like you're working, but your internet is on and you feel attracted. For me, usually it is, I want to check what's the latest news about Arsenal. I'm an Arsenal fan for years. So sometimes I feel, I feel like I need to check what's the latest, what's going on. Do we have any transfers? So that's the challenge I have. Now, here's the deal. The way to, I'm seeing a couple of ones here. Now, here's the deal. This is what you do. What I also do is switch off internet. So I will unplug my Wi-Fi because I told you the phone. So even when the phone is in the bedroom, then I will switch off the Wi-Fi. Then that way you're able to focus. So because part of focus is to minimize distractions. Part of winning this game is how can you minimize the distractions. Once you minimize the distractions, trust me, that's a huge, huge accelerator. Then the other part of activity is what I call multiplier skills. This is a huge concept. What do I mean? Let's assume you're a doctor and you went to medical school and did what you had to do, and God bless you, because I have huge respect for doctors, and that's one doctor. Now, another doctor could, in addition to have medical knowledge, work on their, say, public speaking skills. Now, all of a sudden, they have multiplied their value, not being just a doctor, but a doctor who can speak in public. Okay. So now all of a sudden they have multiplied their value. Number 3, and that person, if they are keen, they can also work on entrepreneurial skills. Now, all of a sudden, they're not just a medical doctor, they are a medical entrepreneur who speaks in public. So all of a sudden they can open hospitals, they can do many things. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is this year, ask yourself, what are those multiplier skills you need? And definitely one of those skills, if you haven't mastered it, is public speaking, because then you can influence so many people. In fact, one of my clients whom I coached for some time and, was able to even become a partner at PwC, she's called Pamela Natamba. I coach her in a couple of areas: career development, public speaking, personal development. And when we were reflecting shortly after her being promoted to level of partner at PwC at the age of 36, by the way, she revealed to me that, by the way, Ethan, the thing that really made a huge impact to me was communications. Because see, when you communicate, now you can influence masses. You're adding value to a bigger portion, and that multiplies your value so many times. So you need to multiply your skills at this level, and you need to find out what that is. It could be sales, it could be leadership and management, as an example. That's a multiplier skill, because now if you can impact your team at the workplace, that's a multiplier skill. It's multiplied your value. That's the concept I want you to think about. So, okay, what's that skill I need to learn that will multiply my value over time? Okay, cool. Now, before we go into the next R of the Mars model, please let me know in the chat box, does this make sense? If it makes sense so far, please type in the chat box sense or yes, type the word yes or make sense so far, because we are now halfway through and the last segment I need to go super fast. Good, I'm seeing many yeses, that's great. Okay, fantastic. All right, cool, thank you. Now, down in the Mars model, now we are done with the first two letters. Now, let's look at the next. We finished with the mentor, with the activity, and now we need to look at the R, which is routines. Now, under routines, why routines? Routines because that if you need to think about something, then by then it's too late. So routines help you to do things on autopilot, so to speak, so that you don't have to think about things. So, number one of the routines that I would encourage you to have is to do what I call deep work first thing in the morning. According to research, as you're starting your day, you have a certain level of energy and resilience. And let's look at them as resources again. Now, as you go and will, so as the day goes by, assuming this is the circle, then as the day goes by, that will keeps reducing further and further and further. So meaning, if you start your day, when you're starting your day, do what is most crucial, what's most important, what's most valuable, and get it going and get it out of the way. One of the, I forget who said it, that if you have eat your first frog in the morning, and then the rest will be much easier, meaning the most challenging work. And deep valuable work is usually more challenging. But the easiest thing is to get on social media, is to read newspapers and all this stuff. And then you feel like you're doing work, but ultimately you come at the end of the day, like, what did I do? But in the first hour, the first like 2 hours of your morning, I would say ideally 3 hours, do deep work. What is most valuable to you? And that will be a huge, huge accelerator. Because in the morning, it's quieter, you're more energetic, you have mental clarity, you have energy. Just do at least that one thing. You remember one of the big goals I told you for the quarter? Just put your energy on that. If you put in those 30 hours a month or 20 hours a month in a quarter, those are 60 hours. Imagine if you put 60 hours on one big goal per quarter, you would crush it. So that's deep work. The second key is to create conditions for automatic success. And I talked about routines, so to speak. So what do I mean by conditions for success? Let's just suppose you want to exercise. So one of the conditions, so you need to ask yourself, okay, what are the conditions in the life of a person who exercises every day? So one of the conditions is that they always have their shoes and attire for exercise nearby where it's visible. It means that they wake up at a certain time. One of the conditions could be, at one time I had a coach who was coming home to where we were doing shadow boxing and all that stuff. So when you hire a coach for exercise, for example, that's a condition you've set automatically. Whether you are motivated or not, I would hear him open the gate. I'm like, exercise time. So what are those conditions that you want to create that will automatically push you into success? If you want to write, one of the automatic if you want to publish a book, one of the automatic conditions could be that first thing in the morning you write. You know, you outline your chapter in the night, and then in the morning, you know, you get to that. So that's conditions for success. Then number 3, this will surprise you, is to get more sleep. You're like, what? Achieve goals and sleep more? Yes, because according to research, which I looked through actually this last week, which was quite shocking, was how sleeping less, sleeping less meaning less than say 7 hours or so, it has health challenges, the mental, the energy, the clarity. We make more mistakes and all this stuff. And the opposite is also true. We have more, if you sleep more, you have more clarity, you have more energy. So this is an area where I feel I've deprived myself. And sometimes you think you're making progress, staying till late in the night, yet the law of diminishing returns at place, and you're reducing even your lifespan. So this is going to be one of my core goals for this year, to sleep more, to commit to those 7 or 8 hours. It makes a huge, huge difference. Okay, cool. Now, that is the activity part. Now, before we move into the S, please type 1 to make sure that this makes sense still, to make sure that we're on course before I go into the last segment. Please type 1, say, does that make sense? So if it makes sense, I need to see some ones. I'm seeing ones in the chat box. Please type, because it tells me I'm on course. All right, fantastic. And then that's great, I'm seeing many ones. So now finally, the S under Mars, the Mars model, it is spirituality. Okay. And I had not, had forgotten to add this in, and then this morning I was like, oh, how could I have forgotten this? What is goal achievement without spirituality? 1, forgiveness. Ladies and gentlemen, please listen to me. If there are people who have angered you and annoyed you in the previous year, last week, last month, yesterday, and you're carrying that anger, that resentment, that hate, if you do not release it, it's going to be like carrying stones and rocks by your legs. You'll move slow. Take it from me. I've lived the life of where one of my uncles even said, if I had a gun, I would kill you. And I forgave that fella. Now we are in talking terms, and that lifted the weight off my shoulders. So I know what I'm talking about, and I've lived this part of forgiveness. So please, there are people who will wrong us. They will do the nastiest of things. Please forgive them. And number 2, forgive yourself. You've made mistakes. I've made mistakes. I've made several mistakes myself. But I look in the mirror and say, Ethan, I forgive you. Because sometimes we find it easy to forgive others, and we find it difficult to forgive ourselves. Please forgive yourself, forgive others. That will lift the weight off your shoulders. This is the ultimate accelerator, spiritual accelerator, which spreads throughout your life, other goals. And that if you cannot forgive, how can you be forgiven? Okay, so we have to practice what we would want to experience. That's the one portion of spirituality. Okay, so forgive that one who is coughing in the mic also. All right, and then 2, pray. When I say pray, again related to forgiveness, it's not just, I know you're praying for yourself, but pray for people. Pray for people. Recently I turned 45 in November. So I did 45 lessons I'd learned. And this is one of the core things I talked about. So you forgive people, but then you pray for them. You pray for them. Because Christ said that forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. Number 2, you do not know what people are going through. You have no idea. This is what I discovered. You see, the older I get, the wiser I become. In that people, you don't know the forces acting in their life, mental, emotional, spiritual, you have no idea. So pray for people. They do these things not because you have no idea. Someone fought with their spouse last night, or they got abused, or they got beaten up, or they got, you have no idea what's going on in people's lives to trigger them to do things that you're like, how on earth? Some people say, who does that? Who does that? Well, human beings do that. Okay, human beings do that. That is not to say they are right. It is to have that sense of compassion and say, may the good Lord, so when you see someone doing something nasty, say, God, please help that person to heal whatever is going through their lives that they may move forward. Pray for them. Help them to heal. So you're praying for them to heal. And finally, is to bless. Bless people, send blessings, blessing to everyone, even bless even your enemies. Because besides, if you only bless, I believe it's quite, it's easy to bless friends, but can you bless enemies? Now you might say, oh, enemies, how can I bless them? Well, guess what? They're human beings. And guess what? You've also made mistakes to someone else. You and I have also made mistakes somewhere. We've hurt someone either knowingly or unknowingly. And I've noticed, especially most times it is unknowingly. You do something that you didn't intend and you meant good, and someone gets hurt and unknowingly, and you meant good. So, by the way, talking about that, how many of us, if you've ever done something out of goodwill and good intentions and someone just felt hurt and yet you didn't mean to hurt them, please type number 2 in the chat box. You meant good, but someone felt hurt and you're like, what? Type number 2 in the chat box. You meant good and someone instead got hurt. There you go. I'm seeing so many tools. It has happened to me several times. Therefore, if nothing else, this proves my point in that let's forgive people, let's pray for them, let's bless, because sometimes they're not even intending to hurt us or something like that. If you do this, I don't care how many goals you're setting and all that, if you miss this spiritual aspect, it will slow you down. If you get it right, you'll be amazed. So there you have it, my friend. And in terms of skill sets, remember to follow through, remember to focus, continuous effort, speed of execution. You need self-control, you need to utilize your time wisely, okay? And so I want you to go ahead and type in the chat box, what did you find most useful in this presentation? And how are you going to implement the lessons moving forward? So remember the Mars model, to move to the Mars. Remember the mental game, you need to play your mental game, you need to play the activity game right, and you need to play the spiritual game right. And of course, on this screen there, you may want me to help you to accelerate your goal achievement. Go to ethanmussolini.com/coaching and, you can check out my story. Also, I published 50 trainings in 2021, like I had mentioned, and then God told me to give everything away for free, so you can access them at succeedingdaily.com. They are on life and career development. And by the way, coaching, I help people to, whether it's executive coaching, executive communication, whether it's public speaking, and all these other executive skills that one needs. And also you might have an oral interview and you want me to help you to succeed in that. I have a 70% success rate. You may want me as a motivational speaker. Talking about coaching, one of the best gifts you can give yourself at the beginning of the year, please, is to hire a coach. Find someone else. If I resonate with you, those are the phone numbers. And I have a special offer for the beginning of the year. I won't tell you what it is. You can text. I'm not on WhatsApp, so you can text me or call. Those are the numbers. And at Success Africa, we do human resource consulting and training. And those are some of the topics: team building, leadership change, personal finance, stress management, talks, and all this. So, Mr. President, my desire is that we shoot forward and go to the Mars, baby, 2023.
Yes.
Yes. You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ethan Mussolini. I want to report to you today that we have a copy of Mussolini in a Rotarian named Bruce. After we've officially closed the meeting, we'll ask him to do your rendition, and then we'll see his success rate. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir.
This is indeed very amazing, and one that is key on how we can accelerate. I really appreciated the way you presented, but I also realized that I'm eating into the job of the person that is supposed to do the vote of thanks. So let me stop here. Lest I will be the one who was called Virukanga and he ran past, his home. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, let me request Mr. Ethan, if I just would like to know if you're able to spare 15 minutes after the hour of 8, so that we decide on how to proceed.
Yes, I am open to do that.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. What we will do now is to do the final norms of the meeting, and then we can move into the Q&A at the stroke of 8. So let me request officially Rotarian Jane Mary.
Leadership and management, among others. And then, of course, the routine that enables doing things on autopilot. Deep work, especially first thing in the morning. Friends, I kindly welcome you to raise your virtual hand or share your concerns in the chat room, and I will be happy to pick it up from there. I'll start with Charter President Anthony Okimat, who is asking you, Ethan, what are those special characteristics and identifiers of multiplier skills? And
yeah, cool. Let me hand. Go ahead.
Would you prefer to take one question at a time, or I pick up chunks of 3 and then?
Yeah, chunks of 3. Chunks of 3 would be fine.
Okay, so the first one came from Charter President Anthony. The second one is coming from Millie Sweet. Rotarian Millie Sweet is saying sleep, commitment, dividing your goals into quarters, spirituality, and so much more. Oh, I'm sorry, that was just
those were lessons. Yeah.
Oh, lessons. Ethan, I kindly request you start with those 2. So far, what we are seeing in the chat room are beautiful accolades to you for that beautiful time you spent with us, the beautiful engagement. And Rotarian Dori Naevale is asking, is it okay to sleep in bits, or one has to sleep 7 hours straight?
Okay.
Thank you, Ethan. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. Then I'm seeing another question here from Roland. What can I do to get out of a disruptive habit? I can't finish one thing at a time. Okay, so let me respond to those 3. So multiplier skills. So multiplier skills, there's no size that fits all, apart from a few skill sets that I know cut across. So what I recommend, for example, the skills that will multiply your abilities, there are those which I would call global skill sets that will multiply your value. One of those which I will emphasize again is public speaking. I mean, Warren Buffett said that you can increase your income by over 50% if you master at least the skill of public speaking. It enhances your personal brand, it increases your influence and all that. So there are those what I would call global skills. So those are crucial. One of those other skills is sales and marketing. Now, I don't care whether you're in a non-for-profit or for-profit, we are always selling. You have to sell an idea. Governor Mike now has to sell the vision of Rotary. So we are always selling, so to speak. So now, that's one aspect of the global skill, what I would call global skill sets that are crucial. Leadership and management is one of those global skills, because then you're able to influence many people. Now, when we go to individuals, each person has that something, each industry has that something that is very, very crucial. For example, I know if you are an accountant, one of the skills that will help you to multiply your value is not just calculating numbers, but can you turn those numbers into a story? Can you create meaning out of them to make crucial decisions? So if you have a background in accounting, but you can also tell a story and also lead and also this kind of stuff, then that adds a lot of value. Now, I may not have answers to your specific world. If I was your coach one-on-one, I would be able to tell. If you're in a non-for-profit organization, for example, one of the multiplier skills is fundraising, because then it's the heartbeat. If there are no funds, then the organization won't move forward. So some of my clients who are saying the non-for-profit sector, I tell them, please develop the skill on how to write proposals for funding, for example, relating with donors, raising money. It's a multiplier skill. It increases. When I say multiplier skill, what is that skill that will boost your value above most people? Okay. Then secondly, is it better to sleep in one chunk or in bits? This is what I discovered. I also thought that bits are fine. It's better to do one chunk ideally. Okay. Now, if you're in moments where you cannot afford, then you can sleep in bits. Now, why are you sleeping in bits, by the way? It's because you didn't have sleep the prior night, so to speak. Now, there are also moments whereby you cannot avoid it, and you're stuck, or there's this project where you have to work through burn the midnight candle oil, so to speak. So apart from those exclusive moments, as much as possible, have one chunk, have deep sleep, then you wake up automatically. Like this morning, I woke up automatically, or even before the alarm went off, because I slept early. So that's what I would say. It's always recommended. And you know, research on YouTube. There's this research. In the future, we can actually talk about this. An area I want to research in. Then someone asked about having a disruptive habit of not finishing things in one go. So I can relate to you, my friend. That's something I've struggled with. And as I get older now, I'm getting better to that end. So not finishing one thing. So what can you do? So what you do again, it is to minimize distractions, to tell yourself, you know what, I'm not going to do this thing until this is done. So one of the things that you can do is to reward yourself in that if I achieve this, then I'll be able to do this. So for me, you had me say, oh, I cannot wait to check Arsenal news. So what I do now is I tell myself, you know what? Once you finish this, you cannot check Arsenal news until you finish this thing, and until you finish this 1.5 hours of work. This is what I was doing, say, last week. And then once I've done, then I go and reward myself. So this, like, what you're passing on to your mind is, oh, I get rewarded when I finish something. So that's one. Two, you can get an accountability partner. Say, you know what? If I don't finish this thing, I'm going to pay you $100, whatever the thing might be, or I'm going to give you this, so I'm going to do this. Then lastly, when it comes to habits, is that thing that you're talking about, schedule it. If you don't schedule it, it won't get done. So you remember I talked about you making sure that you fasting in the morning. So one of those things that are crucial, you schedule it and say, no, I'm going to work on it for 1.5 hours, and that's it, or 1 hour. And then once you're done, once the alarm goes off, you switch off, and then you go to something else. Then tomorrow, the following day, you do it the same thing. Then over time, you develop that habit, and you can make a commitment and say, one of the core habits I'm going to develop this quarter is to follow through, is to finish things. And then pray to God, pray for divine intervention. Say, God, help me to focus and finish this thing. God, help me to focus and finish this thing. God, help me to develop the habit of finishing things. And then you'll be amazed at what it will do to you. I hope that answers for those people where I was answering the questions, please let me know if I've answered or not. Okay. So what are the things to consider?
Thank you so much, Ethan.
You're welcome. I've seen two.
Yeah.
I've seen two questions in the chat box. Okay. So, okay, sorry, I'm here.
Rotarian Millis, which is as PLPQH bars is breaking. I'm so sorry.
Okay, so let me.
Elizabeth, you may need to find that happy spot of yours where the network is super clear.
Okay.
So since there are issues with the network, is it okay if I respond to some of the questions I'm seeing in the chat box here?
Yes, please. Thank you, Rotarian Ethan.
Okay. By the way, I like the name Millie Sweet. I'm telling you, yeah, Millie Sweet.
I know,
okay.
Sweet.
I've never seen this. It's amazing. So Millie Sweet, what are the things to consider when choosing a coach or mentor? So that's a great question. Number one is ask yourself, what do you want? Because it's about you getting clear about what you want in the first place. Say, this is an area I want to work in. So, for example, if you are looking to achieve, to manage your money very well, ask yourself, okay, who among the coaches or mentors is excellent in this area? And then that's the one you follow, okay? So if you want, say, communication, because that's one of the areas I focus on, especially executive communication, then you'll be in very safe hands with me. Now, you will not be very safe hands when it comes to things like numbers and all this stuff, but communication, that I know 1,000%. So that's one. Two, of course, budget is an issue because there are those, but also remember, remember, you get what you pay for, okay? So that will be the other key thing. Then number 3 is write down the characteristics you want in a coach. There are those who want the very serious ones. There are those who want those who are fun and energetic. Then there should be certain values that you cannot go against. For example, for me, one of the values before I work with someone, one of the values has to be integrity. Number 2, they have to believe in God. So number 3, they have to be the kinds who keep time, because those 3 will really knock me off. So also when you're writing like a list of the things that you want in a coach, write down the qualities that you want, and then God will help guide you towards certain people. And you feel it in your spirit, okay? Because God will know the right people for you. I'm right for some people in this room and I'm not right for some people in this room. Not because I'm a bad person or something. No, it's just that I don't have what I may not have what you're looking for. Oh, here is another quick prayer that I learned from one of my business partners. And that is, God, send to me the people who have what I have and have what I need. That's an amazing win-win prayer. So every morning, especially for us who are in business, God, send to me those people who have what I need and need what I have. Then that way it's a perfect match. Okay. Please, Millie Sweet, let me know if I've answered your question. Then I believe, is there someone else? How can I get a right coach? Yeah, I believe that's the question I was answering, Roland. Also look at their profile, okay? And it is also fine for you to interview them. So before I enroll people, we always have a chat. And by the way, talking about a chat, I'm seeing some people asking about coaches. You know, when you're talking to them, let them not be the ones to just interview. You can also interview them to figure out what's their story, what's their background. Does their background fit in what you're looking for and all that? What do they stand for? What are their values? You know, when you look through their social media pages, go to their website, you get to know their mindset, and then you get a spirit. And talking about which, again, I need to remind you, if you call me today, those of you who are interested, I have a special offer, a beginning of the year special offer, which I said I want to mention, but you can call me on those numbers on the slides. Okay, let me see. Okay, Millie Sweet said you answered my question. Okay, great. Brilliant name, Millie Sweet. Oh dear. Okay, so Dan, I believe there could be another.
Ethan, I think previously Bruce wanted to say hi to show you how he's a replica of yourself. Another version of you.
Yes, Bruce. You could be our accelerator this morning.
Good morning, Mussolini.
Rotarian Bruce, please.
Good morning. Good morning, Bruce. Rotarian Bruce.
Good morning, my brother.
Good morning, sir.
I was just told to do only the laugh, and that's what I have done.
Amazing. All right, good. So one of the accelerators then has to be laughter. Mr. President, I forgot to add that. Next time I will. Laughter is good for your health, by the way. So always feel free to laugh. And don't let the public stop you from laughing. On a lighter note, Mr. President, I was attending an introduction for my best friend, and we're seated in front. And so we're laughing. My best friend, Joseph Beanga, we always laugh aloud. And people are like, no, at an occasion, we laughed even louder. I said, look, we have to laugh. We have one life to live. So you might as well laugh, and it's good for your health. Over to you, Professor.
Thank you so much, Ethan. I'm afraid I don't have legendary love.
But you have legendary brains. You have legendary brains, and that's enough.
The way you laugh. But going forward, they will learn to laugh.
Great.
Rotarian Catherine, I see your mic is open. Please go ahead and share your thoughts with people. Amen to that. Brains it is. Rotarian Catherine, please go right ahead. Was that for Stella? Catherine? Okay, maybe it was.
Yeah, Professor, thank you very much. Thank you so much, Rotarian Ethan. If we do not have any other questions, I think we have to. Oh, okay. There seems to be a final one from President Segonga. Please go right ahead, and after this, we can be able to close.
Thank you very much for organizing this accelerator, and I want to thank my friend Mussolini. I think we met at the Ministry of Local Government for the same.
Yes, sir.
And I'm Rotarian Segonga Mohammed from Lugogo Mango Tree, and I'm a fitness and nutrition wellness specialist. The issue of sleeping a number of hours, I think there is no standard to that, because if you want to be well as a physical person, you need to do watch three things: one, nutrition; two, your fitness level; and then rest, which is a component which has got three components: relaxation, sleep, and because the recovery is done as you relax, as you sleep. So there is no standard for all. Everybody has got his own individualized recovery mechanism. They are very busy people. I do quite a lot of reading about that, and there is one of the presidents in East Africa who sleeps for about 3 to 4 hours only, and is up. So there is no standard for the number of hours one sleeps to recover. You just need to get the accountability partner, like Ethan has said, to cut your own cloth, to individualize your recovery mechanism, because most of the leaders, most of the executives, most of the time are awake at awkward hours when other people are sleeping, which boosts their productivity. And therefore, you may not say you have to sleep for a number of hours. Otherwise, there are people who are very busy, where napping, sleep nap, the naps of 5 to 10 minutes, the power naps, work for them better than sleeping for a very long hour block of hours. So yes, what Ethan is saying is the general observation. However, everybody needs to get a coach, an accountability partner, to get the individualized method. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Rotarian Segonga, and for sharing with us your thoughts. Now, you see, we can always look at different angles. Where I agree with you entirely is that the recovery period varies for different people, depending on many factors, like your health and fitness and all these things. But this is what I know, and I used to think exactly the way you are thinking until last week. Why? Because now it's not an observation, there is research. So I've typed the name in the chat box. Let everyone research for themselves. Dr. Matthew Walker, this is someone who has spent 20 years doing research, studies. They've shown that sleeping for less than, let's say for 5 hours and less, number one, increases dangerous cells, what we would call, say, cancerous cells, increases chances for Alzheimer's, reduces productivity and all that. And when you sleep better, then it increases the white blood cells for, number two, even the lifespan itself. So I'm not going to break down the numbers and all this, but when I looked at the research, I will tell you, Rotarian Segonga used to think exactly like you until last week. When I looked at the research, data, not opinions, but whereby they plug people onto the machines and they're able to look at the numbers. When you look at the numbers, they are really, really scary. So you're right that there are CEOs who sleep for a few hours and they're able to be very productive. But the question then is, for how long? Because I'll tell you, there is a certain CEO who was in this country for one of the big banks. Sorry, I've given away the industry. Super productive. I'm saying super productive, CEO level. Guess what happened? Couple of years down the road, got a stroke. Reason? Stress. Why? Lack of rest. There wasn't enough rest. So I'm not saying that that is an extreme case, but all I'm saying is there are so many factors. And you know, you who's in nutrition and fitness, you know that people like Ronaldo, they are very, very disciplined at what they do, their recoveries and sleep time and all this, compared to other athletes whom it has taken them along, whereby it shortens their career in performance. So yes, you can, but the question is for how long? If you want to go the longer route, and I used to think exactly like you, then my friend, there is research backing this. So this is not an opinion. I used to hold that thought process, but I would encourage you. And I bet all of us would say, yeah, Dr. Matthew Walker. So I would say, all of us, I want you to track, even for you, Segonga, I want you to track when you sleep enough and you do not sleep enough, then notice your levels of performance across the day. It's like night and day. We can all tell that. So even the decision making is less. So yes, you can. I mean, I have until this time. I mean, I'm 45 now, and I've done very well. And I'm seeing somewhere on you know, putting there a couple of research bits and all this. But please check at least what I know. Dr. Matthew Walker is a leading researcher in that area. You look at it, make your own decisions. Something I shared, and thank you, Segonga, for sharing that. But all I know is that indeed different people can live on different moments of sleep, and at the same time, how long? For how long? Yeah. Over to you, Mr. President.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Roger and Ethan. We are really grateful for the time that you've given us and for this extra. We had agreed to 15. You've given us an extra 10 minutes. We are most grateful. Thank you very much, and we wish you an amazing and trend-setting day. At Kampala Alibad, we are trendsetters. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. President. Thank you to everyone. God bless you. Let's go to Mars.
Yeah, fellow Rotarians will be closing the platform shortly.